Hey everyone, Colin here. We're running a short survey to get better information on who listens to the show, and we're giving away free block space gear if you fill it out. If you find value in our shows or listen consistently, you can do me a huge favor and fill out the form. It takes about 30 seconds and helps me and the block space team keep the show running. You can find a link to the survey in the show notes. Thanks.
All right, guys. Today we have on Robert Chang. This is just a Twitter follower that he tweets a lot, changes his name a lot, and is somebody that I thought would be perfect for a podcast that has anybody on. Not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that in broaden the horizons of people we talk to in crypto. So let's welcome Robert Chang. If you want to give us a little bit of background, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? Just like a shit post on Twitter. I've been working in crypto since 2021. I did some stuff outside of crypto as well. But yeah, crypto is kind of like my start, right? Like my journey into like having a full-time career. And I've really enjoyed my time in crypto. And I've been a fan of your podcast as well. I learned a lot from your podcast. So yeah, I'm really excited that you reached out. And it's definitely the best crypto podcast, like for sure. Yeah.
Okay, that means a lot. Okay, so what was your start in crypto? Like in terms of actual work experience? Yeah.
So when I started in crypto, I originally, it was from Luna. So, there was a time where after COVID, people were using Twitter a lot, talking about DeFi. And I thought that DeFi was this like magical thing where you could I thought it was an agricultural thing. I thought like people were actually farming food somewhere, and I didn't understand it. There were a lot of memes. And I was just playing Valorant, right? Like I was locked down and I was kind of like a deadbeat doing nothing with my life. And I got on Twitter. I started reading like those like money Twitter kind of stuff, like really stupid stuff. And that's kind of where I discovered DeFi. And I found accounts like, Darren Lau, Bull Trapper, which is like DeFi God. And they were talking about, Wi-Fi. So I just watched the prices go up and I didn't understand how you could actually buy the tokens. So it wasn't until like the GME craze where a lot of the friends that I had in real life, they were, all playing stocks. I didn't have like a bank account, so I didn't know how to buy stocks either, but slowly just like figured out about Luna. And, I guess this was like December 2020. Eventually in January, I pulled the trigger and I became a lunatic, right? I was in the Luna Telegram. I was shilling Luna every day on Twitter. I was reply guying everyone, there was a guy like Arthur OX. He would FUD Luna. He was an investor in synthetics, and I was just calling him an idiot all day. But I was the idiot, obviously. And yeah, it's pretty much that's how I started. I was like a huge Luna bull, and eventually I looped. I looped Luna. Do Kwon was like, "This is a retirement strategy," so I trusted that, and I blew up. And yeah, so I was like, I'm actually hopeless if I don't find a job. So I was just desperately looking for a job in crypto at that time. And that's where I found, I got into like Perpetual Protocol. And yeah, it was really, really great that they gave me a shot, because this was a time where I felt like if you really knew something about crypto that others didn't, like you could get a job pretty easily.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of different now. But back then, if you knew how like Uniswap worked, or you were familiar with like, you just did stuff on chain in general, you could pass an interview, right? Now it's completely different. I feel like a large part of the industry now is like people who have never done anything on chain, but somehow like hold very high positions in companies.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I started in 2021, and that was like kind of like, yeah, and I've been trading as well since then, right? I degen and stuff. But also I try to make some friends who actually, build things, because that's what I'm really fascinated about. And yeah.
What were you doing at Perpetual?
I was basically like a business development associate. Basically, at that time, DAOs are very big, right? So you would, we have a Telegram group chats where you're always doing something with some other DeFi DAO. You're always looking for some composability elements, and, multi-collateral. We would onboard like different stable coins, different bridges and stuff. It's basically basic stuff like that. Managing the grants program, talking to like, managing these accounts of those traders who would, we paid referrals to, kind of like KOLs now, right? So
Yeah.
stuff like that. And pretty much just BD growth stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And so then what have you been doing since? Like, when have you been sort of off on your own, just shit posting with the rest of us and trading like a degen?
So I really started shit posting when I was working at Scroll. I was working at Scroll in 2022. This was like pre-alpha testnet where, a lot of the ZK stuff was just getting parlay, like just you would see the raises go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone that was like kind of left over from the bear market thought that this is like the only stuff that's real. Everything else is just bullshit, right? So it's like the kind of ETH hive mind stuff. And I was, I kind of got burnt out from like, I felt like I couldn't really communicate with people that well because I had a lot of opinions that were like, like they're kind of offensive in some ways. So I just like, I wanted to connect with more like the people that actually traded, because at that time there was really like, it felt like there was like less than 1,000 people that were trading on ETH.
Yeah.
This was when Vitalik would tweet some shitter and everyone would just gamble. And it really felt like crypto was dead, right? It was dead. And so yeah, I was kind of in that group of people that were just trading on ETH. And this was before Solana kind of took off as well. And yeah, I started shit posting around that time as well. And
yeah.
And I think in the beginning, my posts were more like BD centric. Like I would just cry about infrastructure deals. Like why does the team need to pay Alchemy like, millions of dollars for an integration? Like felt like I was in a room of like adults who wouldn't take me seriously when I brought these things up. So I just needed a way to kind of vent. But like crypto people, they didn't care about that stuff at all. They just cared about shitters. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I kind of grew my account.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like I felt quite similarly at the time, and you could probably tell from a lot of what I posted about as well, is there did seem to be like a pretty big disconnect between the people who were using this stuff and the people who were building this stuff. I mean, was that generally your opinion? And it just got to the point where it's like almost you couldn't reconcile the two camps, right? Like there was these people who are steadfast on building all this infrastructure, and a lot of the traders are like, this is, or traders or users, right? We're like, this is like, these are science experiments, and this is not what most people are actually optimizing for.
Right. Like there was I would say like maybe there was like less than 5 teams in crypto that were really trying to get users. And I noticed a shift when in 2023, like Q1, I talked to Eugene from Ellipsis. Yeah. And nice. That was kind of like the first time that I kind of like, because like I didn't have any friends and I was just kind of working. And I realized like there's definitely a shift going on where there are some people in crypto that seem to be trying to actually do things. And that's what I was like, and then I felt worried. I was like, okay, I know I'm in a circle where people aren't actually trying to do real things. Something needs to change. So slowly kind of in 2023 was kind of like when you notice a shift where like, if you went to like an event with a bunch of VCs, they would sit in a circle, talk about how great EigenLayer was. And no one in that room understood what EigenLayer was. There was a ton of like Japanese VCs who would be talking about AI, and just felt really confused. Right. And, I was basically trying to figure out what people in crypto actually want to build. And this was also like before Hyperliquid kind of started to get some users as well. Hyperliquid was really fucking bad at that time. And another friend I met at an event also in Tokyo at the time, he was working for Terra before, and he just had some new ideas. So slowly I would just kind of like, just by chance, just meet with a few people that today end up like building bigger things. And but I would say the building takes so fucking long. Like I didn't realize this until this cycle where things really take years to play out. And ideas will take years. Whereas, in crypto, speculation cycles are very fast and they come really quick. And I realized this through like on-chain trading as well, right? when there's an idea, developers will FOMO in and focus on some kind of concept, and then just go straight in and burn out within months. And then eventually there's always like a late developer crowd that would come in and focus on that idea as well, and they'll just get stuck there, and then it ends up becoming nothing. I think like a really good example here is like, during AI agents, in 2023, if you would talk to any like, blockchain team, no one gave a fuck, even though like OLAS was pumping. But until like it became the actual meta where like VCs were supporting it, then these teams actually started to care, and they would like, they would pivot or basically make content around agents. And it's just like, it's too late. That meta is going to like dry out, and whoever's left there is going to be stuck. And I don't think they actually want to be in that position. They're just doing that to get attention. Yeah. So you notice all these times, just like these on-chain metas, like teams would just like get affected by it, and try to get some attention. And it usually doesn't work out at all. So, yeah.
So were you early trading on Hyperliquid?
I started trading on Hyperliquid in late 2023. So, like when the market's like pumping a lot and you see like exchange coins like Celestia and Say like move really hard, you're just like, what am I doing on chain? I really want to get on some leverage. I really want to get on Hyperliquid. So I put my whole like account on Hyperliquid, and I was just longing stuff there. And I thought it was really good, and I got really hyped about it. So I listened to a bunch of like, I listened to Jeff's podcasts, and I was like, this is the future. So I was tweeting about it. And then that one January, that candle in the first candle in the New Year's, it was like everything on Hyperliquid basically had like dropped by 50%, like everything except for BTC and ETH, right? And I got my whole account licked, and there was actually a time where I blew up on Hyperliquid and the team refunded me, because I was like,
really?
I was like, there's no way, like, and they refunded me because I didn't close the trade. Like I got licked, and then they refunded me because the price was very different from the exchanges.
Was this when there was like that Oracle mispricing?
I honestly don't know what happened exactly, but I was really pissed, because like I was like, come on guys, like every time this like I'm like, when I close, every time I use Hyperliquid, if I manually close the trade, I would liquidate myself, because there's really high leverage. But sometimes,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, sometimes I just don't close the trade. I just pray, and the price just doesn't hit. I just don't get licked. So I'm like, all right, I'm just fuck it, right? So
kind of the same thing used to happen with like early versions of lending protocols, where you would try to pull collateral to pay off the loan, and it would just lick you. Yep. So then it's like, okay, why did I do this? So I know, it's like kind of a similar dynamic with perps there. So you were big on Hyperliquid. Okay. What else were you trading? Like, talk to me about your like overarching view now of markets since, you stopped kind of working full time, and then what you've been doing, like what you're excited about and what you think is complete BS, which from a lot of your tweets, it sounds like you troll about these same kind of metas that I do. So I'm interested to hear your takes.
It actually really was like a huge, I was actually a huge bull. Like I actually liked the project. I actually liked the coins that I was buying, and I believed there was upside. And I was like, this is all garbage. But like, I genuinely was very bullish, right? Because I thought like we were early in a trend, and I thought all this stuff would become very, very big. So this was like late 2023. And then by 2024, I started to kind of, when bigger characters kind of appeared and they kind of had more control over the market, you kind of have to submit to whatever was strong. That's when I started to kind of like lack a bit. I was just like, I faded a lot of the early meme coins. I was very mid curve there, and I also wasn't really quick enough to adapt, right? And I mostly started, and I also zeroed out too. So I was like, I really got into like the trenches, right? Yeah. I thought I was too over reliant on narratives rather than just looking at volume and piling into whatever else everyone else is piling into. Yeah. So I realized like the stuff that I was buying, I would kind of have to submit to having longer holding periods and kind of waiting for the market. But it's really difficult because you're basically just waiting and hoping rather than kind of like pivoting to whatever is strong.
Yeah.
So
when you were saying that like some bigger names came along and had more influence over the general direction of the market, like what were examples of that? And like what did you see as changes?
Yeah, definitely like Ansem was like the first. I think Ansem was like the biggest shift for sure because Ansem really changed up the culture for sure. Everyone that came after Ansem that got big was like they were never as big as Ansem. They were just like derivatives of Ansem. So that was a little hard to adjust to because like when Ansem was kind of like the main guy, it was just like okay, you kind of knew how things would happen and play out, but as soon as like you had like right now, you can see like it's just Solana just completely like Jupiter just launched some like launchpad, so it's like everything just continuously gets diluted and really shitty. But it's really good when it's like it's just starting, right? And
yeah, exactly.
Even I was late to meme coins on Solana, but in the summer of 2024, like there was a lot of things that did really well. So even though I was late, there was still like a lot of opportunities that so but now it's just like it's completely fried. Like it's not easy at all. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think this was kind of exposed also just the degree to which this is not easy. Like what do you think of the state of the trenches? I'll ask you that. Like it's hard, right?
I don't see it getting much better right now. I think like as long as you're later, as like the years go on, it just continuously gets harder. Even though, like, it's very the market caps are not a good indicator of like people. It's a skill issue, missing the big runners. But it's true. Like you can still do really well. It's just like it feels much more like a game of chance. Or if you're in certain groups, you will see people say like, "Hey, let's basically like, people are pumping volume into lower caps and trying to run them up, and then people will pile in, and it becomes a much more kind of insider game, I guess. It's always an insider game, but like it's more noticeable, and you're just playing like musical chairs now, and there's no way to actually really tell what's going to happen. And I recently noticed some traders on Twitter, like they're saying, as everyone doesn't believe now it's time to believe and hold longer. Things will inevitably come back. That's possible for sure because on-chain does feel very cyclical. And, in a year, maybe there's a few months where everything does really well. And then things go to shit in there. Yeah. But in terms of the metas, though.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Granted, I'm not as in the weeds as you are on this. I'm not as active in the trenches for what it's worth. But like my perspective was that there were a lot of people making essentially the claim which you were saying, which is like, it's a skill issue, right? And I think it's very, very difficult to be on the outside. I guess that is kind of a subjective term, but like be on the outside and trade in these markets. And really, like you're talking about like the dispersion. I mean, there's really it just becomes decreasingly people are not incentivized to hold tokens for extended periods of time when you can launch a new one, right? And try to run that up for many more X's, right? So like once there's we saw some coins run to like over $1 billion, right? Like with WIF and some of like but then now it's harder and harder to really find like these, I don't know, maybe like there's some legitimacy to what Murad is saying. I mean, he threw out like 10 coins initially and now he's sort of coalesced around one, right? Of like these cult communities, but it does seem very much like a game of chance, I guess I would agree with that.
The people like for these larger cap names like SPX, Farcoin, like these are, I realize like these are kind of dominated by perp traders now. Like people are just trading them based off the charts. And rarely is it actual like, and then like, sometimes like the bigger wallets on chain, someone will hold like maybe, 500K in Farcoin, and they'll like sell some of their holdings and go ape into some low cap shitter, and then just try to like, run up that stack, right? But yeah, it's definitely not early. Like you're not early to any of these at all. Like just yeah. So, but there's always like a group of people who are looking for new things and looking for trying to create some new ideas. Like that stuff always comes back. Like there's always an opportunity for developers to just like grab attention. And yeah, I would say like developers on chain like actually have a huge advantage that I don't think many of them realize this, but like the quality, right, it's really low. So I actually believe more developers should launch tokens. I'm a token fan. I'm not in that group of people who think like people shouldn't launch tokens and tokens are all bad. Like I just don't see that. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some of the meta specifically. What did you think about AI agents? Like from the beginning, for me, I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm interested to hear what you think.
Oh, I love that. I love that meta because like, so I mean, AI agents is just something that like, so in the summer of 2024, I think Mark Zuckerberg was talking about AI agents a lot more. So I was like, damn, like this needs to get bigger. This is like, this is gonna be huge, and but it took a while. It took like a few months, and it actually the first iterations were really bad. Like you had like Goat, and made no sense at all, but did really well. And you had Genon, and these are just like complete LARP coins, right? But yeah, I'd say like the first iteration in that meta was kind of hard to play, and but the second iteration was much better. You actually had like Shaw, right? And you had Jeffy, so you had like actual devs that you could stand behind, and you knew they were gonna just like put everything they had into it. And AI16Z was really interesting because when you went to the Discord, it literally felt like you were in the Wi-Fi like early community, because these were like there were like 20 devs on voice chat, and like yeah, this was like even after P Marca mentioned it spiked up, then it went back down to 10 mil. So it was like shit. And at that time I was like I was so retarded. I basically CTO'd this meme coin called Worm. So I was working on that every day, and I was just like my head was all in on this idea, and I put like 300K into this token. So it was pretty fucking stupid, right? I got dumped on at the start, so I was sweating a lot every day, and then I was desperately finding a way to like think what this thing could become. So I was also like,
what did you think? What did you think it could become? Out of curiosity. Well, first of all, explain it what it was, and then like, what did you think it could become?
Originally, Worm was an idea that a friend of mine named Ryan kind of like mentioned to me in person in 2023. He was saying, why doesn't someone build a Worm on chain? Like I want to build like but he wasn't doing that stuff, right? He's just an idea. And he's actually mentioned this to a couple of VCs as well, and they were actually interested in it. And I was like, holy shit, you're right. Like a high TPS chain, you could build a Worm on that, right? And I thought it was really interesting. And this idea kind of floated around a couple of Telegram groups for like a whole year. And eventually, when the AI agent meta, like after Genon, there were like a group of Anon developers who basically deployed this coin, and my group scanned it, and we all aped in. And I'm just like, this is like someone definitely sniped this idea off my friend, right? And I was like, but like it's not gonna come again. So I thought this was like the only opportunity, and I just kind of like became a full shill, like a community member. And yeah, I didn't have any idea what this thing like could become until I was just like I was using Claude, right? So I was just posting stuff. I was just like asking Claude questions, and I was just spamming like AI slop on the timeline and desperately trying to make the coin go up. And yeah, and then I would, what I would do? I would basically go online and listen to like these people in AI and their previous like blogs or podcasts where they wrote a lot about like building like a living organism or how AI agents are almost kind of like they're like an iteration within this. And I had I don't know anything about AI, so I was just like, I thought this stuff was actually really amazing. Man, like you could look up certain terms like digital organism on Wikipedia, and it's just like there's like a field of study, right? Like there's like a lot of information in like textbooks and like research articles, and I'm not very university educated, so this stuff is it sounded like the next thing to me. So
yeah,
right, and and my friend Ryan, like, he's very smart, right? He's actually like very educated, and like he went to a really good a school in Korea for like kind of gifted students in sciences. So everything he said to me, I was like, I could use this. I could definitely take this idea and put it into this project. And oh my god, it got really bad, because when I was talking to developers, I was finding people who could code, right? And I was just sharing these ideas with them, and I don't know, they probably think I'm really retarded, but they kind of like just dealt with it, and they ended up just building out some stuff, and yeah. But
so okay, so what came of Worm? So like, what was the final
the fucking zero, man? The finality is that I round tripped like, I don't know, like 4 million like in UPNL. And I airdropped like the dev wallet because when Arthur Hayes tweeted about it, I was really excited, and I was like celebrating before I actually won. And I don't even know what winning was. Like I could have sold some coins and won, but I thought like, hey, I'm just gonna airdrop everyone. So we airdropped the dev wallet to people. Like this dev wallet was basically given to me by the actual developers of the project, and they cleanly handed it off to me. I thought it was like a huge takeover, you know, but I didn't know how much responsibility that was going to be. And yeah, I wanted to basically get hype, and I was hyped. I was just like celebrating. Everyone in Telegram was like, "You're winning," and it did feel like that. But yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, it was zero.
This is like quite fun. This is not a podcast I usually have, so it's like awesome to have somebody like you on, right? Like just deep in the trenches and just being, you know, almost like honest to a fault about how this stuff plays out.
You would be surprised, because later on in that meta, there was actually a lot of VCs who got into it. They would basically ask to get on a call or know more about my future plans. And I thought it was very exciting. I thought these people maybe wanted to buy the token, or, you know, basically, you know, but, you know, later on I realized they're just kind of like trying to insider trade and maybe take some ideas and make their own token. And this was very noticeable when I saw Shaw shill a token called Spore. And Spore was very focused on an idea that we came up with too. And I shared it with one of the VCs, and just 2 weeks later, like it just, you know, they put it into a token, and Shaw shilled it at like a real life event in like Shanghai or something. I'm just like, what the hell? Like, I didn't know people played like this. And I was just like, I just completely came out of nowhere, like a friendly intro, and then a 30-minute call where I just like laid out every detail, and then it becomes a token immediately, and then VCs write blogs about it. I'm just like, fuck, like this is not a game, you know. This is like war. So I was really mad, you know.
The Gwart Show is sponsored by Ellipsis Labs, who I've been following for 3 years now. They're one of the strongest teams I know in crypto. Ellipsis Labs is a small engineering team with a flat structure. They build complex systems, primarily in Rust. For engineers who like challenges, here's the kind of problem they solve. A layer 2 blockchain needs to maintain 100 million accounts and generate a state root after each transaction batch. The root must be built within 50 milliseconds. How would you design a system to ensure the root construction is fast enough? High-performance challenges are core to Ellipsis Labs' mission as they build modern crypto finance. They believe finance needs more than an upgrade. It needs a complete rewrite. The success of their first product, Phoenix V1, speaks for itself, doing over $70 billion in organic trading volume. Now, Ellipsis Labs is building Atlas, the blockchain purpose-built for verifiable finance. I know this team personally, and I like them because they're unique in the crypto space. They have a long-term focus, they work in person from their New York City headquarters, and they're here to build products that fundamentally change the world of finance. If you want to learn more about their open roles, go to ellipsislabs.xyz/careers. It used to be the case that let's even take this out of the context of crypto. early startups would be like quite closed off about what they're building, right? Like oftentimes be in stealth and very much want to put kind of a shield around what they're building. And then you move into crypto and like the same sort of dynamic happened. But again, what you were talking about earlier on in the podcast, which is that this stuff takes a long time to develop, right? Like a lot of projects do take a long time to develop. Well, with these AI agents, like the from start to finish, like you can have a quote unquote product out within, 2 weeks or even less, right? You launch a coin and you can also have just the bare bones or no bones at all. And it already be in production, people trading it, people shilling it, people wanting to be involved. And there's nothing really surrounding it. So like it becomes so cutthroat, like taking these ideas and you just like listen to the people who are influential on chain or influential on Twitter. And like you can grab one of their ideas and have it in prod within, 24 hours. And that's definitely something that I think that it's interesting to see. Like tokenization has definitely just, increased the speed at which these things can be shipped by, many orders of magnitude.
It happened very early on. So in 2023, Q4, during the Bitcoin kind of like ordinals meta, you saw a lot of like Chinese VCs. They would have their own dev shops, basically deploy like very well thought out projects in like weeks, right? And they would have anonymous teams, but they would inevitably get listed on some tier 3 exchange. And, they'll run up the chart. And it worked really well. I traded a lot of those tokens. But yeah, it got worse and worse, right? Like every meta, they would come back and like do more projects. They wouldn't like these guys, they wouldn't like rest for a single meta. Like they had the intention that I'm going to fucking come here, deploy 100 tokens, be involved in everything and just like milk every single opportunity I get. Like that was really the game. And for a lot of, I guess for me, I didn't really feel that until Worm. Worm was kind of like when I talked to people, I was in that kind of race. I was like, shit, this is like, I'm not built out for this. Like I'm not a developer. I have to basically think of a product and come up with a scope and see if we can actually build it out. And a lot of developers, they get caught into this. Like they get into this and like they don't know how much of a sport it's like. It's really not like some people, they're prepared in advance. They have everything ready, and then when the money ball gets hot, they're ready to go, right? Yeah. And we don't realize like how much of a sport this really is. Like on-chain development, like this is the problem with ICM. The ICM kids
okay, let's talk about ICM. First of all, like we were joking about this before we started the podcast. I was like, all right, we're going to talk about ICM, Internet Capital Markets. I'm not entirely sure what it means, but I'm going to make you give the definition of Internet Capital Markets.
Dude, Internet Capital Markets is like this term where if you're a doxed kid who has went through some YC cohort, you can go around and say you're building a legitimate idea, and then people in CT will have to shill it because you look more educated than everyone else. So inevitably it becomes a meta. It's just a fucking term. I have no idea what it means. I don't believe in like anything these guys are building. But I think some of the tokens might survive or might do well. So
okay, wait. Let me dig into this a little bit more, because this is something that I've been following, not as closely as you have, but I've been following loosely. And I'm curious, what is the unlock with Internet Capital Markets that wasn't available to people for the past 10 years just launching a business with a token in some capacity? Like, what is the difference?
Nothing.
There? Yeah, exactly.
Nothing.
But what is the argument of the difference?
The argument, you can just go read Chamath's intern on Twitter. He has a million arguments every day about it. Basically, any holder, he's a big bull. I hold the same tokens as him, so I hope they go up. But I'm always going to be saying stuff that I believe in. So the argument is basically you're giving people in crypto a chance to buy a share of an actual company, right? You're not buying a token now. You're buying a business.
Yeah, but hang on. Here's the thing: is that, for example, there's this guy. Correct me if I'm again. I follow this more loosely than you have. Like I love your post on it. So that's also why I wanted to talk to you about this. But there's this guy who kind of started the meta, Ben Pasternak. Is that right? Is it Pasternak?
Yeah. Pasternak is the
okay.
yeah.
So he's this is sort of the inception of this from what I've seen, and he has this app called Believe, which is just it's like a platform that enables people to come and launch shows, right? It's just a platform.
It's just Launchpad.
Yeah. So, but my understanding is like in the terms of service, there's nothing that really denotes this as being more of a security or equity or ownership than any of the other meme tokens.
Yeah.
Like I'm still trying to parse exactly what we're getting at here. So go ahead.
Yeah. It's just a poker chip, except there's a person behind it. Like,
okay.
It's like AI16Z, right? It's like Cerebro. It's a token. There's an idea. There's a concept. And then there's a person behind leading it who is spending time, effort, and probably has some resources. So it's just, at all times in crypto, there are just tokens and people have a pool of money and they're always looking for something to buy. And as long as that idea is somewhat more believable than anything else, it might just attract some holders or believers.
I think here's where, again, I wholeheartedly agree with the overarching concept, which is that there doesn't need to be a reason for a token to exist. It just needs to exist. And if it has a narrative, great. If not, that's also great. But I guess one thing I would say is that, and I'm deferring to you here as to whether this is correct, like the AI16Z and Goat and like Ganon, all these agents, to me, there wasn't really any semblance of a business behind it. Like there was no indication that if for whatever reason AI16Z agent made a lot of money, you would be entitled to that. It was just like almost supporting it. The difference, I think, maybe with this internet capital markets meta new narrative is that there is something, again, like we're being very generous with saying something, but there's something behind it that could be profitable in the future or could be something like a business. Is that one reasonable demarcation kind of between these two metas? Yeah,
but I can give an example of why why this shit is not going to actually work. And I would say, so early on in 2024, I basically did some stuff outside of crypto, mainly focusing on, it's like a data collection for robotics training. So at this time, it was very like, I wanted to basically do like the next step in, but, it involved, but basically getting like human data. And human data at this time was not very well known that would be useful for model training, even in the real world, right? Like I'm not talking about crypto right now, I'm just talking about the real world. So I thought like we could incentivize people in crypto and basically get data from people. And I pitched this idea to a lot of people, like especially VCs, and they didn't believe in it at all. They thought it was a fucking scam. Turned out it's very legit and it's an actual real business now. It's a team leading it, and it's actually quite there's actually real paying customers, like actual companies, right? And the more product market fit that we got, the more we realized we could not involve crypto at all in this business. Like there's a certain vibe in San Francisco or just within people who are serious in the industry, I guess, where crypto is a very, very bad thing. And no matter how legit, like that's why these kind of people in YC, they can like make it into this, like they can be like, they just fit because like it's just believable enough that they can build, it's the people in crypto, there's a disconnect. You're always playing like crypto is like trading a myth. You're trading an idea and it's not true, but you have to believe it's true or else you can't make money. So, there's a company called, Grass, right? Everyone was saying they sell data. They sell data to companies. They have huge contracts. But to this day, we don't know what contracts they have. We don't know who's buying this data. And even if they do actually have customers, we can't know that because they probably are signed some NDA, right? So they can't advertise that. And even if they did have these customers, how the hell would that benefit the token? Like they could just be selling the token for all we know and funding operations. Yeah. Right. Because like there's an equity business and then there's a token business. And the token is not a business. The token is just, it's fucking air, right? It's just a narrative. So there's no reason why, even if they have product market fit or success in the real world, should that actually benefit the token? And it probably doesn't. The chart kind of displays that. And people see the chart going down and they say, oh, they must don't have any real customers at all. But that also doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
so
it's
we're
like,
just
yeah,
creating
both
rumors.
sides. Yeah.
Yeah. And Cled was basically Grass V2. Grass might be more legit than Cled, but Cled basically took that concept and said, we actually are, we can actually have huge contracts with OpenAI. They keep tagging OpenAI, like potentially OpenAI could be a customer. That's not how you get OpenAI as a customer, right? And second of all, at least what Avi has been sharing, that kind of data, that data is useless for OpenAI. I don't see how that data is useful at all. I don't think anyone in in that actual business thinks that data is useful. So this stuff looks really unserious to people who actually work for like OpenAI and DeepMind. Like I know people who work at DeepMind, right? And I chat with them about this kind of shit sometimes. And it's just like, we all know it's a scam, but people in crypto, they can say whatever they want, and then people just believe it because everyone's desperate. Everyone's just gambling. So it could become something for sure, but it's going to be temporary. It's not going to be permanent.
Yeah.
There's never even
God.
Yeah, even Solana is not a permanent like idea. Like even Solana is a huge fucking chain. It has a huge scope, right? And people build on it. It's all this real shit going on. But inevitably, it's just a token that's just trading, right? Like it could go up and down, and there's nothing that says Solana should be worth that much money, right? It's the same thing with all these tokens. You can all extrapolate these concepts to a larger market cap token. And people realize this, like there's a certain point in which a token just kind of, it reaches a point where it can't grow any further. I think AI16Z was a very good example of this, where it hit an incredible market cap, right? But a lot of VCs, maybe a few, not a lot, but a few definitely wanted Shaw to basically launch a new token and make it into an L1. And there were rumors going about that Shaw would make AI16Z into an L1. And if you told traders this, they'd be like, no, he's not. He's not going to do this. He's in Discord saying he'll never make it to L1. But he was definitely having those conversations because there are people who wanted, larger size, larger ownership over this, and they wanted to help him. So inevitably, on-chain devs will have these conversations with VCs who want to take this concept and extrapolate it into a bigger concept, which is always an L1. It's always an L1. And, it's just, this is the thing, right? Your tokens are, there's a ceiling for them.
Yeah.
So you need to make the narrative, you need to make it into something bigger or parlay the idea into another like vertical, like you need to verticalize it somehow. So yeah.
But also with AI16Z, I mean, again, I'm deferring to you here, but okay, so what I saw was there was a lot of dispersion with, I don't know, you know better than I do, but maybe Shaw directly talking about a lot of different tokens, which isn't very helpful when it comes to, sort of coalescing around a single token narrative, right? Like if every day of the week you're either involved or mentioning additional tokens, like that just kind of, it's like the euthanasia roller coaster there, right? And just you're going down. And then, but also I still, and this just goes to show mainly what you've been talking about this whole time, which is like, I don't really know the value proposition of AI16Z to begin with. So like you're saying, like there are VCs, probably in his DMs or on calls with him saying like, well, let's take this to the next level. Like, let's push this to the L1 premium size. Like for what? Like, why would you want, like, what was AI16Z token going to be, like, what was the value proposition there? Gas token?
Yeah. Because AI16Z was the market leader and it had the endorsement of P-Marka, right? That's P-Marka is what P-Marka is kind of the guy that actually kicked off this meta. This meta would, I don't believe it would have accelerated like that if he didn't like kind of take control.
There was other people too. Like there was a few other, I'm trying to think, like Mark Andreessen, yes, but then there was a few other pretty big names that were mentioning this stuff offhandedly, and that definitely added fuel to the fire.
And look, I think even Shaw mentioning those other tokens didn't really affect AI16Z that much. After he did it, the token still went up a lot. I think like it doesn't matter what he does. Because the token topped out in January, right? And the whole market kind of tops out before January. So even after the market tops out, the token still went up, right? And it's almost like these on-chain seasons trade really closely with like global liquidity. Like, like, in September, it was kind of like the macro traders kind of like, all right, I'm calling bottom here. This market's fucking gonna go send because, it's like it's time for BTC to pump, and then it pumped, and then this on-chain meta kind of came about, and these concepts, they really don't matter because they always come. Something always happens when the market runs hot, and it actually AI16Z topped out like really late, so it was a wild success. It was actually a very successful project. I think they went as far as they could possibly have went with how much money was in the system, right? I don't think Shaw could have done any better than he did. And I think a lot of it does not even revolve around what he actually does or builds or says. These are all just kind of noise. And there's always going to be a leader. And that leader is just like, it's chosen. If the market says this is the leader, that's the leader, right? Zeribro was like the second runner. That Virtual just completely took its shot. Yeah. And Zeribro was kind of weaker, right? And I just think the market always will decide the winner, and like it doesn't matter what the concept is. It never matters. It has never mattered. I
agree.
Yeah, even to this day. Yeah.
Hey, Will here with Blockspace Media. Did you know that we have individual feeds for all our shows? If you're watching the Mining Pod, Bitcoin Season 2, or the Gwart Show, be sure to check out the individual feeds. You can find them on your podcast player of choice, whether that be Spotify, Apple, YouTube, etc. Just type in Blockspace Media and you'll find all our shows pop up, or just type in the individual show name like the Mining Pod or Bitcoin Season 2. Be sure to hit that subscribe and give us a 5-star rating so we can continue to bring you the best content in Bitcoin.
Okay, pivoting a bit, what do you think about Base? You've tweeted about this. Base in general. Let's hear it.
Yeah. I think Base has has a lot of serious builders. Like not in the form of token launchers, like people deploying tokens, but in the form of people that are building something and they need to involve the chain somehow. They, inevitably Base becomes like this like top choice that people will integrate. So for example, a friend of mine is building like a kind of like a payments app, and they chose Base, right?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like you want to do something real, you kind of have to do something with Coinbase. There's not really another option, and so I think like Base just like it survives. It's always going to have like its spot. But every time they attempt like the speculation meta, they do really bad. Most recently, you can see that like there are some more sophisticated on-chain traders who will play Base tokens and kind of like really set them up, and then people will come to the conclusion that wow, Base is more safe, Base is better, Solana is dead, Base is going to be Base is where you buy the good tokens. So there will always be some kind of like stuff like that going on. And I would say, the people doing this, it's like the people that did, Nero on ETH. If you remember like the Nero CTO token.
Maybe go on.
Yeah. So there's always a group of people that, I think it's the Dubai kids that will, they will use their accounts and they will shill a token, but the main guy pushing it's always Crypto Jamie. Jamie's like the guy with the biggest P&Ls, and if Jamie corners a coin, Crypto Jamie's got the diamond hands photo on Twitter, but he's just someone with really really big like P&L sizes, and then people will just if Jamie's in, I'm in kind of thing. So and then people even started making the narrative like, oh, this like KTA thing, they're building a real L1 or something, and it doesn't matter. It's coin just totally trades, like everyone's just piling in and waiting to sell, and then get it on exchanges and then distribute it. It's just stuff always dies, right? So it's just,
yeah. What do you think? All right, let me this has been a hilarious conversation. We've jumped all around. Let me just kind of zoom out for a second. What do you think we see going forward? I mean, it seems like meme coins, and maybe if you just consider them all meme coins, like they have staying power. Like there's always going to be a new meta. Like this has sort of been the essence of this talk so far. It does seem that, as you were saying before, it's harder and harder to find an edge. These coins don't run like they used to, at least from there doesn't, like, I don't know. I said a bit more on the outside, but it does seem like there's not much organic running anymore, for what it's worth. You kind of have to be somehow tied to this in group. Now there may be many in groups, but you do need to have these sort of inside connections to figuring out the next runner. It does, but when do people learn this? Like, does this, like, in your opinion, right? I mean, you could say this in the entirety of crypto, right? So, like, in an ironic twist, like, all of crypto has been one speculative, ball of fire, and that applies to all the real projects and the meme coins. So, I'm not saying that it is dying necessarily, but I just don't know how long you can persist knowing that the edge becomes bigger and bigger for the house or the in groups writ large. No, it really just depends on Bitcoin. Like if Bitcoin if Bitcoin goes up, these opportunities always come back. If that doesn't happen and the market goes to zero, then we just reset, and maybe in a couple of years things can come back again and people forget everything and we relearn. Like a lot of, even this doesn't just exist in meme coins and on-chain, right? This exists in concepts that people build, they build like large-scale projects around, like layer ones and, different categories of exchanges, stable coins. Every sector within the market has this kind of pattern where, old ideas will come back inevitably and be rehashed, and people will believe in them again. And a lot of people that believe in them have never even been there to see the previous iteration, right? So everything kind of with coins, they come back faster because there's always a pot of money that's just ready to gamble, right? But with builder ideas, they are more slower on the trend because VCs are, I don't know, they take time to adapt to an idea, and then that idea becomes real again. Like, look how late they were to stuff like Hyperliquid. It's actually pathetic, right? It's just different ideas are catered to different people, and each category of people has a different time to kind of adapt to an idea. So there's always different ideas in the market constantly being sold to a buyer. And with meme coins, the buyer is just always ready with his money. Like, I'm here. Like, I got my paycheck. I'm ready to go. Right. So you always have that demand. But they inevitably burn out really quickly because their money runs out. So that's why you need a bear market, and then slowly build it up again and then up again. And as the time goes on, it becomes harder and harder. Right. But with builders, it's the same thing. The money is just not like the liquid money in the market. It's money from VCs. So they're building the same shit. Like right now, looking at prediction markets, look at people building, stuff like Kalshi, Polymarket. Like these VCs, they're looking at the Kalshi and Polymarket valuations, and they're thinking, I'm going to bid 10 of these, and see which one takes off. So it's always the same thing. Yeah. Are you bullish on any VC coins?
Not coins, but I am bullish on a few. So I'm bullish on certain VCs. Like I'm bullish on Red and Rajiv.
Right?
You might know Red. Yeah,
I know both of them. Well,
Red from Electron.
Red and Rajiv are quite sharp. Actually, both of these guys. It's funny you say this. Like both of these guys, I don't know if they're. I genuinely don't know. Like, I don't know if their funds can move super fast when you're talking about these like fast paced metas, but they are on top of it. Like I talked to both of them, and I you probably know, like they personally are on top of it. So that's interesting at the very least, right?
I think the game which they play is very difficult. It's very hard to be a partner in a crypto fund and invest in crypto. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And
it's funny.
So
yeah, it's true.
I'm not judging them based off of their funds returns, but I think they have people like this. They have the potential to improve the market or improve crypto as a whole on a longer time frame, because their ideas will slowly bleed into other people, and builders they execute on a much longer time frame. So inevitably the market will kind of change and play out the way they might imagine it will. So I think these are smart people where you can learn a lot from. And really, most of the crypto VCs are just like, they are incredibly stupid. Like, and I'm saying this from experience. I've talked to a bunch of them where, you have really great ideas, you hand it to them, and they completely play it off like it's a joke. And then a year later, they're chasing beta, and they're trying to build it themselves, and they'll fork it. And it's really, when you're really there seeing it, it's like they're doing it in real time. Like they're not just, I don't think they're just late. I think they're actually like just mercenary, it's like they're not actually trying to make crypto better. They're trying to just destroy the fucking place, Like I don't think these people are good people, just like, that's why when I talked to Rajiv and Ren, I really thought like, I was like, wow, these people, they keep investing in the stuff that I like. And I even pitched stuff that's outside of crypto entirely to them, and they took the time to really learn and do DD. And they're not just there on crypto. They see the whole world, right? And a lot of these VCs, they just live in crypto, and they just see crypto as this game. And you can't win like that on a long time frame. You can't win like that. You can milk it, but like you're not gonna make the thing like 100x, right? So
I think you're right also about with a lot of these funds being kind of beta chasers, right? Like I think they see something do well, and then they have a comp. That's like a lot of what this form of investing is to me, at the very least, right? They have a comp that they can go to their investment committee and then go to LPs and say, XYZ is trading at 10 billion. We can invest here, and without, and Hyperliquid was maybe a good example of that, where, we see like the claw wars now, right? Like, and all these perp dexes coming about. And so, I very much agree with that. But also at the same time, you see, as cynical as I may be, and also I have the advantage of like not having to invest, right? Like a lot of these guys have to deploy money, so I get it. I don't have to deploy money. It's easy for me to just sit mainly in Bitcoin, right, and heckle from the sidelines. I understand, what their sort of mandate is, but there are some like sort of encouraging developments. Like Alliance DAO has been able to incubate some novel, right? Like, again, we can decide how valuable for society this stuff is or whatever, but like they certainly have been able to find new ideas early. And like, it does seem to be trending generally that direction. And like, even if this whole ICM thing is complete junk, which I'm generally in agreement, at least from what I see, that it largely is, it does seem like we're kind of disintermediating this need for this form of VC capital at the very least, right?
Yeah. Alliance serves they basically filled a gap in the market, which was, kind of under, a lot of VCs didn't have the balls to play the way Alliance does.
Right.
You could say Alliance, it's quite risky, the stuff they were doing.
For sure.
Maybe a lot of VCs will find it kind of unprofessional, but it turned out really well because Alliance, they understood that on-chain seasons are inevitable, and the market always wants to buy liquid tokens that have high upside. The reason why these tokens do well is because they start out at very low valuations. If they were to launch at higher valuations, nobody's going to buy them.
Right.
And these tokens made other tokens seem like junk because they're much cheaper. And yeah, pretty much all of these on-chain seasons have been dominated by Alliance. They really, this cycle has been their cycle basically. And yeah, I would say like outside of Hyperliquid, it's really been Alliance. So they're just buying Alliance coins. I don't know what their model is, but I know that if you're like a founder and you go to them and you build out an idea, usually they'll take like 10% of your equity or something. So it's also like it's a big trade-off too, because it's like there are some, I would say there's some founders that would let A16Z crypto lead their round. And A16Z crypto, they always like to take a big ownership and a really low valuation, and kind of like, it's kind of like they're PvPing you. They're not really there to be your friend. But Alliance, they do something similar, but they prove that there's upside to you as a founder because you can launch a token and you can make money from the token. A16Z crypto startups, the founders, they get the funding and then they're trapped for 4 years, and look how that's been. Like, it's going to continuously get worse for those founders. They have been, I think they've been played, and they inevitably in 2026 or into 2027, they'll probably learn that they made a terrible decision. There's a gap, right? There's a gap in crypto. Not every founder that comes into crypto knows what's going on. A lot of the founders are very new too, and they have no idea what's going on. So there's always there's another player, right?
Okay, let's finish with give us some not financial advice, but give us some what you're bullish on. You don't have to say coin specifically. What's you're following the metas. Like what's the next meta? Like what are you own a bunch of ICM coins, so hopefully you think those can pump, I assume.
Dude, I honestly don't know, man. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm so 50-50 on this stuff. I have I don't think the market is in a good spot as well. So I can't say I'm incredibly bullish, but I buy the tokens where I think the founder will like stick to it. Yeah. Like they will continuously work on the idea, and the only way you can kind of like sense this is by being in the telegrams with them and looking at their previous work history or academic. Like, it's a meme, but I think like their academic background actually matters a lot. Because in Web2 startups, you just see like it's so hard to be a winner if you didn't go to like a really good school, or you're not American, right? And crypto is slowly getting into that path where the people with better pedigrees, they will just kind of like become winners eventually as the market matures. Sometimes they might not be better, but they're just a higher percentage that they will succeed. So I do look at like what school they went to. It sounds so fucking stupid because I don't believe in this, but I act on this now. I do think like if a founder comes in, they're really focused on something, they're constantly at their computer, and they talk to other people, they can parlay their idea into something bigger. Yeah. And I just bet that they will. I do not talk to them. I do not know if they will. I'm just betting. If it's zero out, then fuck it, right? I don't know what's gonna happen, right? So I'm not. I can't say I'm bullish. I just play what's there. And in terms of like actual projects, I think there will be some kind of change within like right now people are really bearish on AMMs. Like they think everything's just gonna become a clob, and all of crypto is gonna be like clobified. I don't believe in this. I think there is actually some innovation that could occur in AMMs in the coming future. I just don't know what it's in. Something always happens.
It's like a good point. I mean, the spectrum, like we kind of do this pendulum thing where the pendulum swings all the way, and right now it certainly seems to be on the clob side. I guess with AMMs, that's fair.
But I'm just betting on Ryan Park, like to do something in that space. Like
wait, it's always a person. Who is Ryan Park?
Ryan Park is a kid who built Anchor protocol for Terra.
Okay,
before Anchor, he was, his startup was acqui-hired by Do Kwon. He was doing liquid staking on Cosmos called Everett, and that idea, that concept matured into some like what we see today as like, you know, Lido and like Jito, like liquid staking as a whole. This concept has grown a lot, and he was focusing on that concept as a kid, right? As like a 17-year-old kid. So even though he didn't reap the benefits of that specific vertical, I think he's learned a lot from the past few years. So I think he inevitably will be someone that transforms this space. And I don't know the technicals. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know anything about DeFi. Remember, like I'm not like I'm just betting. So I think people like this will change the space, and he will kind of like serve the other side of the barbell where, you know, more people like, you know, Chameleon Jeffrey or Eugene, you know, they will build the other side. And I think, you know, this market always swings around. I don't think we're going into just one direction. Like right now, everyone thinks we're going to TradFi everything up. And, you know, I mean, if you want to TradFi everything up, by all means, just go to, like, these people saying this, like, why aren't they showing QFX, right? Like QFX has just raised a hell of a lot of money. There are like some kids in London, they're building 24/7 perps for equities, commodities. And I think the investors in that startup, they're probably thinking this is the next FTX. This is going to kill crypto. This is going to kill altcoins. We're going to bring perps to TradFi. And there's a lot of people betting on that. And that will take years to play out, right? That's like a very long time frame. But I do think they will succeed. I do think that something like that makes a lot of sense. But I really don't like this meta right now where people are just rushing to say like, hey, we're just going to tokenize things and put them on chain, and this will make crypto much better. And, you know, I've asked a lot of people, like, what is this going to actually be like? Are we actually going to be able to buy stocks on chain? And everyone just says yes, right? But like when you ask them how it's going to happen, they don't have an answer. Right. And like the way that Superstate is doing it, and then the way that like you saw Bybit doing it, they're completely different. Right?
Everyone's trying,
Right. But inevitably it will happen. And I think I'm kind of bullish on Ethereum. Like
pendulum swinging. Yeah, makes sense.
I'm bullish on Ethereum. I think Ethereum will inevitably take up a much larger mind share from people than Bitcoin, especially after 2027. Just look at the chart. Just looking at the chart and comparing it to past stocks and stuff like that. I think if you look at crypto
as a mean reversion,
I don't know if it's going to happen really soon, but I think there are people in control of crypto that have a much bigger, like, I don't think this market is just as random as people think it is. And inevitably there will be people that decide Ethereum will be big, and it will be big. So, and I really think Bitcoin has been really overrated.
Interesting.
And, you know, Bitcoin, look, it's reaching to a point where like a lot of boomers are very, very bullish on Bitcoin now, and it'll probably do well, right? And continuously, but it just opens up the floor for Ethereum to finally shine. Look, I fucking hate Ethereum, everything about it this cycle. I literally don't know what's going on there, but it's just like the concept of it. I think it's something that people can believe in at some point. That has that kind of like, it has that vibe to it. And I think Solana fucking goes to zero. Like,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. I think we went through just about everything. I'm glad to get this perspective. This is not like my typical podcast, obviously, but I think you're a great person to represent the trenches and walking us through all the metas and your perspective on them.
Yeah. I mean, on your podcast, I'm definitely, I'm serving like the other spectrum of the IQ.
No, just a different. Just a different type of guest. I think it's good to have like. Oftentimes, I mean, as we were saying before, we have on these brilliant. I say me, but like podcasts in general have on these like very brilliant founders. Oftentimes, very nerd snipe, like in the mechanism design weeds, right? And they may not ever provide the user angle, right? And like this has been sort of one of the big, I would say, problems with the past few years. I don't know, you could go back 5, even 10 years, is that the builders and the users are very disconnected. And so having users on who I think have valuable insight into like what they are doing using all of these chains, protocols, applications, right? Like there's value in that. So I don't sell yourself short. Like I think this is like quite a fascinating episode.
I'd also like ended on the fact that like if I could just say one thing, it's probably like DeFi is I think it's here to stay. I think there's a lot of stuff that's going to be done in DeFi that will be very big. And I don't think TradFi is, as people think, have been so fast to just like take over. Like they're still very, very slow to execute. And a lot of like they haven't been moving as fast as people on crypto make it seem, just because their announcements are more in line with the cycle as a whole rather than actual execution. And I think the product teams at these larger companies are there's a huge gap there to be filled still. And I hope people in crypto really stick around and play for a larger part of the pie rather than just kill off their own just bring in outsiders and just completely sell out, which is definitely happening. But you can't stop things like that. But I would say I'm here to stay, and I'll be working in DeFi for a very long time. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Gwart.
Hey everyone, Colin here. We're running a short survey to get better information on who listens to the show, and we're giving away free block space gear if you fill it out. If you find value in our shows or listen consistently, you can do me a huge favor and fill out the form. It takes about 30 seconds and helps me and the Blockspace team keep the show running. You can find a link to the survey in the show notes. Thanks.